chapter 2, which is project integration management. Integration management is so important that it forms almost all the parts, of the project manager's job. That is, could be said that the main reason, or the number one reason for the project manager's existence in an organization and the projects is to integrate the various parts of the knowledge areas in project management. And so in this chapter, we shall be looking at the overall framework of project integration management, and then we shall look at the different project selection methods that are available in an organization, or for an organization that has several projects to select from. We shall also look at the importance of creating a project charter to formally initiate projects. We shall then look at the project management plan development. We shall look at project execution, the process of monitoring and controlling project work. We shall also try to understand the integrated change control process and the importance of developing and following good procedure for closing projects. So let's first start with the overall framework for project integration management. As I said earlier, integration management is so much important in the project manager's job. Okay, and it involves coordinating all the other project management knowledge areas throughout the project's life cycle. It ensures that all the elements of the project come together at the right time to complete the project successfully. There are 6 main processes in the project integration management, and these are develop project charter, develop the project management plan, direct and manage project execution, monitor and control project work, perform integrated change control, and close project or phase. Close project or phase. So these are the 6 main processes, and as we journey on, we shall look at each of these processes and what they stand for. I spoke about project selection. It's important that for an organization that has many projects to embark upon, very good project management, project selection, methods are used to select projects. And so project selection process involves evaluating individual projects or groups of projects that a company or an organization wants to embark upon, and then choosing to implement one or a set of them. There are 2 main categories of project selection methods. We have the benefit measurement methods, or the comparative approach, and then we have the constraint optimization methods, or the mathematical approach. Now, with the benefit measurement methods, we have the meta board, peer review, scoring models, and then economic models, which I'll describe later in this course. Now, with the meta board, it's quite interesting, the name meta, but several projects or candidate projects are looked at, and what a committee or a group of experts do is to look at which of the projects do not pass a test, okay, or which of the projects do not meet some particular objectives or whatever metrics they are set by those who are part of the board. And so we start eliminating them based on which ones don't pass the test until the last one or the few ones that are standing, and those ones become candidates projects. That's the motherboard. The peer review, in fact, looks at several projects and their peer review. That means we look at projects with similar characteristics, and these characteristics should be based on whatever is expected of these projects by the organization, and then the projects are selected based on, again, some requirements or some specification requirements that are there for the organization. Then we have scoring models. Scoring models, again, projects are scored based on, again, whatever performance targets or whatever objective that is set for them. But of course, there are several scoring models. So we have the 0-1 factor scoring model, we have the weighted scoring model, and all those things. We don't discuss that much into detail, but of course, if you are interested, there you can look at the reference materials that I spoke about, and that will be of help. Of course, we shall dwell on the economic models, and that's of utmost importance in this course. We also have the constraint optimization methods. These are usually mathematical approaches to trying to find out if certain projects or projects that an organization want to embark upon need some optimization constraints. Okay, so we have the linear programming, the integer programming, dynamic programming, and the multi-object programming. All these are purely mathematical methods or models that are used. Again, we don't discuss them much in the notes, and you can use the reference material that I spoke about in the main text if you're interested in them. Now let's zoom in straight to the economic models for project selection. These are used to estimate the economic efficiency of the project, and it involves, or these models involve, a set of calculations to prove the overall financial data about the project, so that if the project is able to meet some financial targets, then of course they will be selected. And some of the models we're going to look at are the present value, net present value, internal rate of return, payback period, and then benefit cost ratio. Now the present value. The present value means the value today of future cash flows. Okay, so if you're working on a project that's estimated, or you intend working on a project that's estimated to churn or to have some cash outflows, okay, then what you may want to do is to bring those cash outflows or inflows to the present, okay, and then finding out the value of those monies in the now. Of course, there could be several factors that could affect this, and these include the interest rates or the cost of capital. So the present value can be found by using the formula PV is equal to FV divided by 1 plus R to the power n, where n is the number of time periods. So if and then usually in years. So if the time period is, or it's estimated that the project will make in some money in 5 years, or within every 5 years, within every year of the 5 years, you have to know the expected cash flow, and then with this formula you bring it to the present, okay, with the appropriate interest rate. Let's look at this question. Project A is expected to make 100,000 Ghana cedis in 2 years, and project B is expected to make 120,000 Ghana cedis in 3 years. And if the cost of capital is 12,000, which project should you choose? So it is a typical scenario where there are two projects. One project is supposed to make 100,000 Ghana cedis in 2 years. The other project is supposed to make 120,000 Ghana cedis in 3 years. And if you assume a common cost of capital as 12%, the question is for us to calculate which of the two projects you choose. So using the present value approach, you realize that PV of project A will be given as 100,000 divided by 1 plus, and the 12% in percentage in 12 over 100 will get 0.12 all to the power 2, where 2 is the number of years, and that gives us 79719 Ghana cedis, whereas project B, it takes 3 years, with each year making 120,000 Ghana cedis, and with the cost of capital as 12% gives us 85414 Ghana cedis. So in the light of this information, we realize that project B, since it will return the higher, or in this case the higher investment in the company, will be chosen over project A. The next economic model is the net present value. And here it is the difference between the present value of cash inflows and the present value of cash outflows, and is used to analyze the profitability of our investments. And the formula is given by NPV, which stands for net present value, to be equal to A naught, where A naught is the initial cash investment. Usually it's always negative because cash is getting out of you, or cash is outflowing, so it's negative. That's the convention. And FT here, the formula is the net cash flow in period T. Net cash flow meaning within a period, within 1 year, for example, the difference between monies going out of you and monies coming in. Okay. So in a year, if you have 1,000 Ghana cedis as cash outflow and 2,000 as cash inflow, then FT will be 2,000 minus 1,000. That gives you 1,000. K is the required rate of return. Alpha is the predicted rate of inflation or deflation, and total number of years is given as n. So what a net present value does is it sums up, okay, the net present, it sums up all the present values, and then adds it to the initial investment. And if NPV is positive, that means the project is viable. If it's negative, it means the project is not viable. Of course, that means you're putting in more money than you'll be getting. And if NPV is 0, that means it's neither viable or not viable. It's like a break-even point. Now, when people compare the value of a dollar or Ghana cedi today to the value of the same dollar or Ghana cedi in future, taking inflation and returns into account. So as I said, if the NPV of a project or prospective project is positive, it should be accepted. However, if NPV is negative, the project should be rejected because cash flows will be negative. Now let's look at another question. A corporation must decide whether to introduce a new product line. The new product will have startup costs, operational costs, and incoming costs, cash flows over 6 years. This project will have an immediate cash outflow of $100,000, Another cash flows for years 1 to 6 are expected to be 5,000 per year. Cash inflows are expected to be 30,000 each year for years 1 to 6, and all cash flows are after tax. All cash flows are after tax, and there are no cash flows expected after year 6. And the required rate of return is 10%. Question: do you advise the corporation to invest in the project? Why? Very simple. Now, in this case, A naught is 100,000. K is 10%, which is the same as 0.1, 0. Alpha is 0 because nothing is instead of inflation or deflation, and then it's equal to 6 as the number of years. So when you plug this into the NPV formula, you're getting NPV to be $8,881.52. Now, since the NPV is greater than 0, then we can say that it's better to invest in the project than to do nothing. And so the corporation should invest in this project. If no mutual exclusive alternative with a higher NPV exists. Then we have the internal rate of return. Quite an interesting model. Now, if we have a set of expected cash inflows and cash outflows, then the internal rate of return is a discount rate that equates the present values of the two sets of flows, that is, the cash inflows and the cash outflows. So mathematically, the internal rate of return K is the value that sets NPV, this NPV equation to be 0. So that K value should set this to 0. Then in fact, if you break it down mathematically, you're having a polynomial to the order t, where t is the number of years. Sorry, polynomial to the order n, where n is the number of years for the project. And of course, you could try to solve this, but it will take a lot of time to get the roots of this polynomial. In fact, the value of K is found by trial and error, but Microsoft Excel comes in handy and can be used to compute the value of K. Let's use the example to explain the internal rate of return. Company XYZ needs to purchase a new machine and has a choice of 2 machines that will provide the same function. Machine A costs $100,000 and would provide cost savings of $25,000 for the next 5 years. Machine B costs $75,000 and would provide cost savings of $20,000 for the next 5 years. The company discount rate is 10% and below the respective cash flows. So you can see machine A and machine B and their respective cash flows. Now machine A costs more than machine B, but also provides higher savings than machine B in future. Both machines have total savings of $25,000 over the cost of the machine. The question is asking us to use the IRR analysis to find out which machine will provide the highest return on investment. Great. So using Microsoft Excel, now what you do is you try to Excel has inbuilt functions, and IRR is one of them. So what you do is you slot the values in, or you build a table as you can see in the previous slide, and then you highlight all the cash flows from year 0 to year end, here the 5th year, and then you type in another column, in another row, equal to IRR, and then you open a bracket, and then try to highlight all the cash flows. You close the brackets. What Excel does is it has this inbuilt function that computes the IR for you. And it should take some few minutes, if not seconds, to do it. So using that approach, you realize that the IR for machine A is less than the discount rate of 10%. In other words, it costs more to borrow the machine than the machine will return. Because as you remember, the company discount rate is 10%. Okay. And the IR of machine A found that to be less than 10%. In contrast, machine B has an IR of 10.42%. This means that machine B will return more than the cost of borrowing the machine and is therefore a good investment. So in this slide, you realize that machine B has a higher IR than machine A, and so machine B is seen as a good investment. Let's look at the payback period. Now, the amount of time to take to recoup in the form of net cash inflows, the total amount of money invested in the project is what we mean by payback period. In other words, it determines how much time will lapse before accrued benefits overtake accrued and continuing costs for any project. Again, let's look at this question. A project requires an initial investment of $200,000 and will generate cash savings of $25,000 each year for the next 5 years. What is the payback period? Interesting. So you see that in year zero, the first year, or year zero, the initial investment, it's 200,000. I put a bracket there just to show that it's a negative, that's cash getting out of you. Year one, there's a cash saving or cash generation of 75,000. Year two, 75,000. Year three, 75,000. Up to year 5, 75,000. But you realize in the cumulative column that by the end of year one, our standard amount to be paid is 125,000 because we generated 75,000, which offsets some parts of the 200,000 initial investment. By the end of year two, the cumulative costs or the amounts that we need to pay have gotten to 50,000 because 125,000 minus 75,000 gives you 50,000. It can be seen that by the end of year three, the money would have been paid and the company would have started accruing some benefits from the project. It can be seen that at the end of year two, getting to year three, the cumulative cost was $50,000. That's how much money is owed or supposed to be paid. Now, year three has a total cash outflow of 75,000, or cash flow 75,000. Now, you can see that 75,000 can pay off the 50,000, the remaining 25,000. So what we need to do is to divide the cumulative amount by the cash flow amount in the third year and subtract from 3 to find out the moment that the project breaks even. And so you realize that if you subtract 3 from 25,000 or 75,000, you get 2.67. That means the project takes 2.67 years to pay itself. Now, if you're comparing two or more projects, the project that takes a shorter time to pay off is the one that you select over the ones that take a longer time to pay off. Partly because, or in part because of the time value of money. Then the next economic model that we look at is the benefit cost ratio, or some call it the cost benefit ratio, whichever way. Now it relates to costing projects and to determine what work should be done. It also compares the benefits to cost of different options. So if the ratio is greater than 1, it means the benefits outweigh the cost. If it's less than 1, it means the costs outweigh the benefits. And if it's equal to 1, then it means the cost and benefits are the same. Very simple example. Question. If the benefit cost ratio of project A is 2.3, the benefit cost ratio of project B is 1.7, which project would you select? Very simple. Project A, because it has a higher benefit cost ratio. Now let's look at what a project charter is. Now a charter is a document that formally recognizes the existence of a project and provides direction on the project's objectives and management. And it authorizes the project manager to use organizational resources to complete the project. Now, before a project charter can be created, there needs to be a contract between a customer or client and the contracting organization. There needs to be a project statement of work. There needs to be a business case. There needs to be enterprise environmental factors, or we need to have known the enterprise environmental factors and the organizational process of it. Several formats exist for project charters. As I said, the project charter in fact authorizes the project manager to use resources to complete the project. So in an organization, that gives the project manager the authority to use resources. Now, several formats exist. However, the following basic information are expected for project charters. 1, there must be the project's title and the date of authorization, that is when the project was authorized. The project manager's name and contact information should be provided. There should at least be a summary of the schedule, including planned starts and finish dates. There should be a summary of the project's budget or reference budgetary documents. There should again be a brief description of the project's objectives, including the business need or any other justification for authorizing the project. There should be a summary of the planned approach for managing the project. There should be a sign-off section for signatures of key project stakeholders. It's very important to sign off. And last but not least, there could be a comment section in which stakeholders can provide important comments related to the project. So that's what a project charter does. And it's very important as a project manager to have that before the start of the project. Then we have a project management plan. Extremely important document that defines how the project is supposed to be executed, monitored, controlled, and finally closed. And the content of this project management plan vary depending on the application area and the complexity of the project. However, the project management plan would have these sections. So we have the introduction or overview of the project, a description of how the project is organized, the management and technical processes used in the project, and sections describing the work performed and the schedule. Sections describing the work performed, the schedule, and the budgets. Now let's look at the contents of the various subsections. So the introduction overview of the project, it should include the name of the project, a brief description of the project and the need it addresses, the sponsor's name, the names of the project manager and key team members, deliverables of the project, and a list of important reference materials in there. So deliverables are tangible, verifiable results that are expected of the project. A description of how the project is organized should also include organizational charts, project responsibilities, or other organizational process related information. So that who reports to whom, who does what, and so on and so forth, described in this section. Now, the section describing the management and technological approaches should include the management objectives of the project, risk management, which we shall discuss to detail later on, project staffing, and any technical processes that may exist. Okay, that is for the section describing management and technological approaches in the project management plan. Then there's a section that describes the work to perform and also referring the scope management plan. It should summarize the following. It should talk about the major work packages, any key deliverables, and other work-related information. Now, the project schedule or schedule information section should include the following: a summary schedule, detailed schedule, and other schedule-related information. Now, the budget section should include the following: that is a summary budget, or a snapshot of the budget of the project, a detailed budget, and then other budget-related information, such as any documentation or anything relevant to the budget. Directing and managing project execution. Now, this involves managing and performing the work described in the project management plan. So the project management plan is a very, very important document that help the project manager to control various aspects of the project. Now, a project is directed and managed as per what has been described in the project management plan. Now, majority of the time on project or on a project is usually spent on execution. And so, a common sense approach to improving the coordination between project development and execution is to follow this simple rule, that is, to as much as possible get those who do the work on the project to also plan the work. Again, strong leadership and a supportive organizational structure are very crucial in the successful execution of projects. Now, monitoring and controlling the project. Now, the project unfolds, it's very important that information on project performance be collected, measured, and disseminated. And so, the work of the monitoring projects includes collecting, measuring, and disseminating project performance information. And the project team should continuously monitor performance. Another very important inputs to help the project manager monitor and control the project. And this includes the project management plan, of course. That's the main document or the main reference document as far as the project is concerned. Others include work performance information, performance reports, and then change requests. So, in order to monitor and control the projects, you have to find out what was originally planned. So you have to look at the project management plan, and if there are any performance information that you gather, okay, you try to use that, compare what's in the plan to see if things are going according to plan or according to schedule, and if there are any variations, you want to take action. The same applies to performance report, and sometimes there could be change requests where due to a very good understanding of the project, then you need to make one or two changes. But of course, the changes should go through the formal process or the formal change processes in the organization. And then once the change is accepted and implemented, and the necessary adjustments are made in the project management plan. Now, key tools and techniques for performing monitoring and controlling include expert judgments, end value management, using a project management methodology, and the project management information system. So these are important tools and techniques that can help the project manager monitor and control the project. Expert judgment means you have to get people with the know-how to look at the results or to look at the data being collected and to find out what deviations are taking place, and then to give the proper advice where it's needed. Now, end value analysis or end value management, which I discussed, we'll look at cost management, but it's a very important technique used in cost control and used in controlling projects in general. Project management methodology depends on the nature of the project or the application area, and so it's key depending on which application area you're looking at. The project management information system encompasses computers and human beings who have to take decisions, okay, as far as projects. Now, outputs of the monitoring and controlling project work include recommended corrective actions and preventative actions. So sometimes after monitoring and controlling, there could be some recommendations on what to do to correct whatever defect or whatever variations there are that have been gathered. There could also be preventive actions. That means after monitoring and controlling, there could be some actions we put in place so that some things, okay, will not happen. So whereas recommended corrective actions are a bit reactive, preventative actions are proactive. Integrated change control. Now, this still falls under monitoring and controlling. It's important to realize that change is inevitable in projects, and so there must be a way of integrating any change that may come up in the project. And so integrated change control involves identifying, evaluating, and managing changes throughout the project lifecycle. And then the main objectives are to influence the factors that create changes to ensure that the changes are beneficial. Determining that a change request has occurred and managing actual changes as they occur. Now, there should be a change control system in any project. And what it is a formal documented process that describes when and how official project documents will be changed. It also describes the people authorized to make changes. For example, the paperwork required for this change and any automated or manual tracking systems that the project will bring. But if this is not done, then you could have a case or a scenario where changes would have been made and you may not even know who originated or the change, or who asked for that change, who authorized that change. And so it could lead to a very chaotic situation. You may sometimes have to track some changes that have been made, and if you don't know who authorized the change, or if there are no formal documented processes, then that can be very, very bad. Now, a change control board is a formal group of people who are responsible for approving or rejecting the changes to a project. Okay, so it could be a project manager together with any stakeholder or team member whom can form part of this change control board. Our configuration management ensures that the description of the products are correct and complete. And communication is very, very important in change control. And so the project manager should use written or and oral performance reports to help identify and manage project changes. Now, closing the project, so closing projects. This is the last process in project integration management. And like anything, a stage or a project should be closed. And the closing should be done in such a way as to prevent chaos, in such a way as to cause problems, in such a way as not to cause problems in the project or the phase. And the main outputs of the closing projects include administrative closure procedures, contract closure procedures, final product results or final product sales or results, and organizational contract practice. Now, if you take administrative closure procedures, there must be formally in the any documentation that looked at, signed, and all those things. You have to look at all those things during the administrative closure procedures. Okay, and the contract closure procedures again refers to the contract and whatever procedures there are in the contracts regarding closing the project must be acknowledged and well documented. And the final product sales or results must be accepted by the client, okay, and must be what the client wants, of course. Okay, it must have been verified and validated by the clients. And organizational process asset updates mean that all processes and all the records as far as the project are concerned must be updated. It reflects the fact that the project has ended. And if there are any lessons learned, for example, this can be documented so that future projects will not suffer. In summary, our project integration framework involves coordinating all of the other project management knowledge areas through the project life cycle. Project selection is the process of evaluating individual projects and groups of them, and then choosing to implement some set of them so that the objectives of the parent organization will be achieved. Directing and managing project execution involves managing and performing the work described in the project management plan. And changes are inevitable on projects, so it's important to develop and follow a process to monitor and control changes. Finally, in order to close the project, all activities must be finalized and completed, or cancelled work when transferred to the appropriate